Hello and welcome to another episode of Canadianish Comedians. I'm Laura Toogood.
And I'm Julie Betts.
Today we are excited to be speaking with the grand poobah of the Ginger Nation, Shawn Hitchins. Welcome, Shawn.
Hello,
Hey,
Shawn.
how you doing? Thanks for having me on.
We're good. How are you?
Good. It's a little dreary here, but
Oh,
the mountains save
Same.
us.
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
mountains. So you're in Vancouver for those people who don't know where you are right now, right?
Yeah, I'm out
Somewhere
here,
else.
cycling, hiking, writing, and
Nice.
having a really great midlife crisis. Yeah.
Perfect.
Aw, nothing beats a good midlife crisis. We both
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
We can
So
relate.
yeah, I'm quite happy to be out here listening to people talk about HVAC systems and Lululemons and
Aw,
yeah, it's quite every stereotype about Vancouver is true and I love it.
that's
Wow.
great.
Yeah.
Now, that's a big difference from where you grew up as a
Oh,
Keswick boy
yes.
in small
Yes.
town Ontario.
Yeah.
And sorry, go
Well,
ahead.
yeah, I guess Keswick, my family would be like, we're not from Keswick, we're from Egypt. But
Sorry, I forgot. But if you say Egypt, people are going to be thinking like Middle East, Africa, Egypt, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
The furthest thing. It's an intersection. It's a
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been
concession.
there.
You have been.
I
Of
have. I
course.
have. I blinked and I went through it.
Okay.
We actually had a family wedding
At the
at
Egypt
the
Hall.
Egypt Hall. And you think, oh, it's going to be so exotic. And it's like the
Yeah.
Egypt Hall. But
No.
it literally is like a little small town hall. It was lovely, but
Yeah.
it's like very different from.
And just a little tiny sidebar. A couple of years ago, I did a small event there. The mayor attended, and I got her counting white pickup trucks.
Oh,
We got to about 50. I swear to God, for the
yeah.
2 hours we were there, it's like, wow, there were a lot of white pickups.
It's probably just my parents' car in the driveway across the street.
Oh,
The
no.
Egypt Hall was my first job.
Oh,
Get
really?
out.
Yeah. I used to cut the lawn and they then created this baseball diamond and I
Oh,
would be
nice.
on this riding lawnmower for 3 hours singing like Oklahoma or whatever. Because yeah, and just for hours and hours and hours just singing musicals
Perfect.
while cutting a baseball diamond in the middle of
That's
a
amazing.
cornfield. Yeah.
So you fit right in with the whole Keswick crowd, I'm assuming,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Egypt crowd. Yeah.
I was on brand.
Yes, I can imagine this cute little ginger on a tractor singing Oklahoma. Yeah,
Yeah,
that would have fit in.
so
Aw.
well.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So do you think that that contributed to your sense of humor and your comedy as you escaped and got up and
As I
moved
took the
on?
404. Yeah.
Yes,
In a
south,
Honda
south.
Civic. Directly south. Yes. I think my family also has this really I wouldn't say it's comedy, a comedic view. It's a way of processing where it
Okay.
deflects any emotion, and so therefore it's comedy. Right.
Oh, trauma bonding. It's so
Yeah.
lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is beautiful, right?
Yeah.
They don't know it's trauma bonding, but
Yep.
these wonderful, I remember like sitting in my parents' basement listening to like my cousins who were farmers talk about another farmer who got his leg stuck in a combine
Hmm.
and then had to crawl out of the field and then put a rubber boot around his leg and then drive himself to the clinic.
What?
Wow.
It was the funniest thing I've ever heard. It was some of the best stand-up I've ever heard.
That's
And it was just them trying to process the absolute horror with comedy. So that's
Yeah.
Wow.
how I grew up in
that's awesome.
my
Yeah, and
dad's like basement around. He had this little, still has this bar, and it's sort of like the bar of Egypt. And that's sort of where all of these stories used to come out.
Mm.
So
That's great.
yeah, there's a pub in Egypt. Nobody knows about it though.
Yeah. We should go knock on your dad's door. What's the address? No, don't say it
No,
live.
don't.
Imagine everyone
So I
showing up at your dad's house. Hi, we're
Yeah.
at the Bar of Egypt.
Yeah, you have
I-
to use the right door. There's like,
Oh, okay.
you know, in a small town or a hamlet or just a concept, you have to use the right door. If you use the wrong door to the house, you don't know, you're a stranger.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Oh. Was there a
I
secret,
fully
like
agree.
a secret knock or?
No, there was no knock. You just had to walk in the right door.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. If you
right
went in
on.
the
Yeah.
front door, you
Yeah.
were never been there before and you were a
Yeah.
stranger.
You
You
were
have
a
to either go in the
stranger.
side door or the like bottom door, the back door. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
And you would go out
Absolutely.
the one door and you would go around and look at who it is, you know, and then back in. Yeah. So it's kind of I guess it's a speakeasy almost.
Oh my
Yep.
God.
I grew
Nice.
up in a
Nice.
speakeasy. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
And how did you escape? I gotta know.
How did I escape?
I feel so stuck.
Well, I am watching back episodes of Prison Break, and it really does. I just finished season 1 of Prison Break because it's on Disney Plus, and it really resonates. But I was doing test runs. You know, I would do things like steal my mother's credit card and then like drive down to the city and then catch Cheetah
Nice.
Rivera in Chicago and then
Awesome.
drive back, and they wouldn't know until the credit card statement came out, and they're like, well,
Oh
what
my
is
God.
this? And I was like, it's a front row ticket to see Chicago.
Stop.
And-
That's amazing.
I know. So it was test runs like that.
Yeah.
And then as soon I started doing summer stock theater when I was 16 or 17 at the Red Barn.
Oh, the
Oh,
Red
yeah.
Barn. It
Yeah.
burnt down.
It burnt down.
God damn.
Shocked.
I know, right?
Shocked there was no insurance on it. Shocked to build it back. So I was exposed to not only actors, musical theater actors, but also queer people and gays and lesbians who would come up for the summer and just do these shows. And then that turned into meeting people in the city. And then by the time was 18 or 19, I had a Honda Civic and I just left.
Nice.
I just escaped to Sheridan in Oakville and did 1 year of musical theater there. And then I moved from there to George Brown to do classical theater and left after like 4 weeks. And then I started doing Second City. So
Awesome.
that's sort of the journey down, right down the 404 to the DVP.
Yeah.
And
That's
lived in
very
Toronto
cool.
for 23 years after that.
Wow. It's
Yeah.
a long time.
It is. Yeah. So
That's great. Now, with the doing musical theater and doing comedy,
Yeah.
and I guess doing like traditional theater, which you didn't love because you only did it for about 4 weeks, right?
Yeah. Well, I
Um,
mean, that was also coming up against a lot of homophobia in the school.
Oh, that's sad.
But was the reality of that
Yeah,
time, right?
back then.
But it was
Yeah.
it was like that everywhere.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it was like that up until 3 years ago,
Yeah.
right?
Because I would be hard pressed to find a non-queer person in a theater program nowadays.
Right.
It seems, right? Like
Right.
it's
But
definitely we've seen that shift.
they can authentically be themselves.
Yes.
Program, right?
Yes.
It would be this process where you would go in and they would say, okay, drop everything that's natural about yourself, put on this armor,
Yeah.
and don't show who you are.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, you know, you would walk in with all of that information, walk into an audition, and you would have this layer on you, and then you would have to deliver the lines.
Mhm.
And you wouldn't want that element to come through. And I just couldn't hide it. I cannot hide my queerness. It's
Oh,
no, it's beautiful. Like
it is.
that's
No,
just who I am,
yeah.
right? But it's, you know, the industry definitely favored people who could hide.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
yeah.
I can
Yeah.
see that.
So,
I can
and
see
that translates over, you know, stand-up, improv,
Mhm.
classical theater, musical theater is the only sort of way, you know, if you were in the ensemble, you could allow that to shine.
Mhm.
And
That makes
you know,
sense.
even
yeah.
Second City, they would throw me these scenes where they would like with this hockey scene, and they would say, "We need you to be more dad. Do this hockey scene." And I just,
Oh,
you know, after the 7th callback over 10 years or getting to the
Yeah.
finals, and I'm just like, I'm just never going to fit on the stage for you. And I stopped auditioning for Second City after that point.
Mm.
that's so
For main
sad.
stage. Yeah.
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 That's
Yeah. But I then carved my own career, which I think has been a better journey,
Yeah.
not as fruitful in terms of, um, allowing projects to just connect with each other, um, and grow that way. But you know, I've accomplished almost all of my goals at 40.
It's amazing.
Which is great. 2 memoirs by
Yeah,
40. That's a
Yeah.
lot of life. That's a lot of words. So
absolutely.
yeah.
And you were lucky enough, you've traveled to some really fun places with your comedy.
Yeah.
You're one of the forefronts. Like, I admire people like you who had to carve your own path,
Yeah.
whereas the young ones now, do they have it a little bit easier? Yes, in some ways, in many ways.
Yeah.
I have a lot of queer friends of
Yeah.
all ages, and the young ones, some of them get on this high horse, and I'm like, dude, like, you haven't earned that. Like, can you calm down a little bit? Because let me hook you up with some of my 40 and 50-year-old friends, or 60-year-old friends, or even 70-year-old friends
Yeah.
who are gay, and you'll go back and like tie yourself to your mama's apron strings again, because you have no clue how hard it can be.
Yeah. And
Right?
I sit with that, and I've had to digest that. It's hard to watch without being bitter, because I was coming up against this word bitter. And I was like, ooh, what is this? What is this? What am I
Yeah.
sensing here?
Yeah.
And ultimately it's just information. I'm like, where is this pain? What is happening right now?
Yeah.
It's wonderful to see people in their 20s getting right to the front.
Yes.
And it's wonderful. I also mourn the fact that they might not have as textured and as rich experiences
Mhm.
as I had, which I'm
Mhm.
grateful for, because I did have what they had. I just had it in different ways. They will never know what it's like to smuggle dresses into Mexico to be a part of the B Girls. They won't know what
Wow.
it's like to, because that was one of the opportunities that was handed to me.
Mhm.
You want to be on stage, you're queer, here you go. Here's
Yeah.
a blue gown, wear it, and wear it
Yeah.
across Canada, wear it across the US, wear it, into Mexico. Uh,
Mhm.
and what it's like to change in a storage closet, in a janitorial closet, and what it's
Wow.
like to be Barla Jean's roommate for a summer, and what it's like to be, you know, in that culture of of grades where you're just naturally hanging out after shows in the
Mhm.
weirdest circumstances. And I think the thing that where that bitterness comes up is that it's the erasure of that. It's the fact that there have been gay comedians for a very long time,
Yeah.
and we have a rich history. But how do we honor that while
Mhm.
watching people get the opportunities that were denied to us
Yeah.
without
Yeah.
erasing everybody that
Yeah.
came before them?
I think that, like you mentioned, bitterness, I think that it absolutely isn't just a gay or queer thing too,
Mhm.
because everybody, I think once you hit a certain age, it's very hard not to be bitter about some things.
Yeah.
Like, it just really is hard not to, and
Yeah.
it's like, oh, what am I going to do to like get past that? But no, what you said was so valid in that, like, they're definitely not going to have the depth of experience. But
Yeah.
I feel that about this entire generation too.
Right.
Like, the stuff that we did when we were kids, like, thank God there is no social media from the 80s or the 90s. I have said it a million times. I will continue to say it.
Yeah.
My children will only have a selective view
Yeah.
of what I allow them to see
Yeah.
of my youth. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's like, oh, I kind of miss it. And like, everything's so transparent nowadays. And it's like, I part of me is bitter that they do have it easier. I don't care. Everybody has
Yeah.
it a bit easier. But I don't know. I'm like, by the same fact, I'm like, I wouldn't have traded what I went through for millions. Well, maybe millions, but it'd have to be a lot.
Yeah.
Right?
I would like to just get in now where they are and get some of those millions now. I'd
Yeah.
like to have both. I'd like to have my rich experiences, and I would love to have a stand-up special. Like
Shawn, you could do it.
Yeah. Well, this is where I am. This
Good.
is where I am.
Yeah,
Stella's getting her groove back.
good.
Yeah.
Well, you're in Vancouver, like
Yeah.
TELUS has grants.
Oh, really?
Go talk to
Yeah.
Jackie Hoffert.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hey,
She's
Jackie. Are you listening, Jackie? I got a show.
we should hook them up.
Yeah.
So you do have,
Seriously, she has done a bunch of these TELUS sponsored vignettes on YouTube,
Okay.
and they're quite wonderful about that community, they're like the community of comedians that she produces.
Okay.
So for stand up, and it's quite a remarkable story. So
yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Jackie's awesome.
I'll
All
send
right.
you the links and stuff.
Please do, because
Yeah.
yeah, it's interesting because 10 years ago, when I was touring my solo show, I had this big, huge ass development deal that was, multi-platform, very thick contract, wanted my bobblehead, wanted,
Wow. I'd
it
buy
was
one.
yeah, it was great, right? It came down to, a conversation saying, why would we spend $200,000 on this special when it will only sell for $11 in Norway? And
Rude.
well, it's so it took a lot to process that and realize that
Wow.
I was, coming up against not only a glass ceiling, but um, a wall that was deliberately put in front of me. And
Yeah.
it didn't just happen to me, it happened to a lot of queer comedians. So now that I can just know that you can just climb over the wall, or
Oh,
there's just
absolutely.
that part of me is saying, get back on stage. You
Yeah.
have one last show in you, and let's do it. Let's figure out how to do
You probably have more than one.
I was just like, one
it.
last? Oh, come on,
Come on.
I got two.
Shawn.
I got two.
Two at least. Come on.
I've got three. Yeah. So that's where I'm at right now, and it's fully formed, and it's just, at what point do I stop hiking and just get out there? So yeah.
Just put it out to the universe. You know what? Hook up with we've had some amazing guests on our show that have accomplished things that they were surprised that they were able to do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And I think, like, I know we always talk about the pandemic and who cares, and I know it's always going to be a before and after and during whatever,
Yeah.
but I think that the pandemic opened up the world a lot.
Mhm.
And I think, especially for comedians and queer comedians, that we, in the last 3 or 4 years, have seen them really starting to gain the exposure and kudos that they deserve. Like, there's
Yeah.
some really funny people. And I think that a lot of the networks, you even see it in almost every single show that you can watch on TV or streamed or whatever. There's always gay characters now.
Yeah.
Always. In almost
Always.
every single thing.
Yeah.
And like, I remember when Modern Family came out and there was the gay couple, Tyler and the other guy, who wasn't even gay in
Yeah.
real life. And I'm like, what the hell? Anyways, and like, that was shocking almost, that people would see, and Ellen, when she came out with her show, and throughout the years, like, there would maybe be one show on
Yeah.
TV at a time that represented the queer community.
Yeah.
And now it's
everywhere.
It's everywhere.
It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
I've had to sit and in my process and go back in time and think about Ellen and that period in which I came out. I came out before Elton John. Like that's
What?
wild.
Yeah,
Like-
that's wild.
Like,
I
we
always
didn't-
thought he
That's
was
insane.
forever out.
right.
Yeah.
No.
I'm like, was
No.
he did get married? Was he married?
He
for a
was
little bit?
married,
He
and
was
then
married. Yeah.
it wasn't until I watched that biopic I was like, wait a minute, what year is this? What year?
Yeah,
What's
no
going on?
kidding,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
And I think about that period where we were allowed to have Rufus Wainwright, and then we were allowed to have the Scissor Sisters, and then we were allowed to start having gay men at the front of bands being themselves.
Mhm.
And I think about entire generations where they didn't hear men singing. I think like I spend a lot of time in nature now, and I kind of like notice the difference of when I hear birds singing, right? It's like this period of grief is over.
Yeah.
And so I notice this. And so when I see like all of the I can't think of their names right now because there's just so many of them. All of these male singers coming out and being at the front of it, like Sam Smith, there,
Oh yeah.
you know, they're at the forefront. You have a little Nas X. You have who's that little Australian twink that everybody's thirsty over. He's out there, and I think how beautiful is it to see male singers? Now, this is where I'm translating because it's the same for gay male comedians.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. We're finally getting to tell our stories in a way that isn't a coming out story. We're allowed to have full sexual connected bodies that are I'm going far on this, but like we're connected to our lives. We're not separated.
Yes.
And we're allowed to speak from our full experience. Like Mateo Lane, like I look at that guy and I go, wow, there's no
Filter?
it's not about boundaries. It's just about
Yeah.
there's no child gates in his act. He just gets to go up there and authentically just speak from the pit of his from his center.
Yeah.
And that is so beautiful to watch.
Aw.
So
It is. It's amazing to see society changing the ways that it is.
Yeah.
There's still a long way to go.
Yeah. Oh,
I think.
yes.
Yeah.
And it could
Not
be clawed back in the next year. We all know that.
No, oh my God. Oh, don't even go there.
I know.
Don't even go there.
I just think more people are listening.
Yeah.
Than they used to be.
Yeah.
Yeah. That scares me what you just said though too, that it could be clawed back, because I have a young gay, very twink friend, and he's like, I don't even want to go to vacation in the States. Like he goes, his brother played semi-professional ball down there, so they go down and pick him up every once in a while, and he's like, yeah, I'm afraid, because he dresses very feminine. He wears makeup, beautiful boy, and he's like, yeah, I'm afraid. And I'm like, that would suck hugely, you know, we won't get into politics because I'll just.
Yeah. You know, it's beautiful that he is able to express himself that daily and that sort of like minute by minute, which is so beautiful. And that fear is not in his house, but that fear is across a border.
Absolutely.
Right. Like that is.
He can say it honestly too.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have to hold back. It's like, this is the reason why, and boom, that's it.
Yeah.
Accept it.
And also, like, you know, you can go, well, yeah, there are other places to vacation, you know, and with better exchange rates, you know, like that's
absolutely. So true.
Right.
So do you think that the temperature, we'll call it the temperature in the States, would influence you bringing your comedy show there or not? Like obviously LA would be okay, New York would be okay, Miami might be okay, but like would it hinder you going there and performing?
No.
Okay.
No.
Good.
I have been in a compost pile of green card applications that have been approved. The wait list is three years now. So I'm in limbo here, which is one of the reasons why I'm splitting between Toronto and Vancouver and South. I don't know if there is such a risk of going, like, in terms of being like a stand-up or a comedian. I think the risk is everywhere. I think some of the risk is our cell phones. I think I don't know why cell phones are in clubs or in theaters. I don't understand why we're a part of me wants to build a cave or like find a cave and start performing in like a cave with people around me, because I feel like this exposure of watching the stand up on your cell phone and watching this, watching acts and consuming it and then just constantly bumping it out, I think it leads to not as strong voices, not as strong content. It takes away from that friction and that tension and that experience of being live in an audience, that human connection of someone standing up on stage. And as soon as you throw a phone up and you capture it, you are putting a frame around it, and it's meant to be consumed. And I think that stand up for me is an entirely different thing. It's a conversation. It's a conversation with an audience where you might fail, where you might bomb, where you where there is a risk to your nervous system because you don't know how it's going to go. And that the removal of that for me makes me not want to go back on stage in a large way. It's not the US. It's it comes from writing books and watching them being consumed. It comes from the feeling of like you're a product, and what is that like, and what does that do to your nervous system? I don't know if that's a strong answer or a funny answer.
No, no, it makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I know that there are people that do pull out their phones, but in most comedy clubs I've gone to, I think it's not as prevalent as we think it is. I feel like I see it more at concerts and stuff like that, where everybody has their phone out recording. I would hope that people would be smart enough to do exactly what you said, where like keep your phone away, because it is about that moment, living in the moment, and you're not doing it if you're like watching it here as opposed to watching it on the stage, right?
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting. It's a very interesting.
And it's interesting to see how comedy is duplicated and shaped by what people are putting out on Instagram.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But in some ways that's good.
Okay. Say
in
more.
my opinion.
Okay.
In my opinion, I think that nowadays the easiest way to gain recognition of the people that are making those specials and doing those shows and doing all of that is to have a very strong social media presence.
Right.
I think that it's very hard to, like, now they have the 10-minute on TikTok. I think it's still only 3 minutes on Instagram, if even. So you don't want to put all your material there, because then why would people necessarily go to see you? Although a live experience is way better than a recorded experience. But yeah, I think that's my opinion. Like, I think that to be seen and heard now, you have to have a social media platform of some type, whether it be podcasting or whether it be Instagram, TikTok, even Twitter or X story, even X. Like you have to have a presence for somebody to take you seriously. Like if you just went to a big producer right now and said, hey, or say I did, and I'm like, hey, I want to start doing stand-up. I'm looking to do my own special on Netflix or Crave or wherever. They'd be like, who the fuck are you? Like, where's your material? What do you have? You know, whereas, you know, I'm sure that some people are put in front of producers from friends that are like, oh my God, I was on TikTok. Did you see how funny this comedian is? Like, maybe we should explore a little bit more with that person. So, but you sounded like you had a different opinion on the social media thing.
I think I maxed out a bit. I think I probably should take this to a therapy session.
Oh no. Well, we're therapists, so you know.
How do you feel?
How do I feel? I feel I feel, what do I feel? I feel that I think it's, for me, it's more connected to ideas of being consumed and how people aren't aware of it and just are performing it, which I know this is probably too granular, but it's this quality of not being present that I struggle with. Like, am I being present with somebody? If I put out a video that's funny and somebody is watching it, am I present with that person?
Okay.
And
But
I'm
okay.
such a, yeah.
No, all I was
I-
going to say, it's a snack, right?
Yeah, it's a snack. My
Okay.
God.
But
Are
isn't the
are we
whole
figuring out myself?
What?
I love
Say
I
it
love
again. Sorry,
I,
what did you
I,
say, Shawn? Yeah.
well, I just, it's a snack. I mean, I should just give you $95 right now because that's all that I need to hear. You know, yeah, it's a snacking culture, I
Yeah.
guess.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But then part of me was kind of sitting here going, but wouldn't the antithesis of what you just said be a Netflix special or a Crave special?
Yeah, I think the difference between that is money.
Okay, so you don't want to you don't want people eating you for free.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Right.
I want the money.
I want the money, damn it. But
Yes,
if you play it properly and you get sponsored, like
right.
okay, so obviously I'm a consumer of
Yeah,
TikTok and Instagram and whatever.
yeah,
And I see these people. I know a little influencer personally
yeah.
who has, I don't know, probably close to 1 million TikTok and Instagram followers now. She's 24 years old. She probably will never have to work in her life. And I follow her and I'm like, that's how I am. Like, I'm
Right.
like, how is this child
Right.
making millions of dollars, gets sponsored like crazy, like gets free stuff, trips to Paris, trips to the Caribbean, trips all over the world, and she's lovely, and I will never say her name.
It's like I won't say my parents' address, but
Yes, right. But I'm like, how did that happen?
Yeah.
I'm speechless. And it's like, don't discount the value of social media
Right.
and having a presence and building that. It takes most people, I don't know what the magic formula is, but
Right.
there has to be something there that just catapults somebody to the forefront.
Right.
And all of a sudden they're making like tons of money through
Right.
sponsorships. So I know Canada's a little bit different than the States. In the States, TikTok pays per view. In Canada, supposedly we don't. But the
Right.
sponsorship deals are ridiculous. Like, oh yeah, I got $35,000 for promoting a brand for 6 months. So the only thing is I cannot promote another brand in the same category, but what's to stop them from promoting something else?
Right.
And I'm like, that's ridiculous money. Like, Shawn, you're missing a big opportunity, my friend.
I am missing a big opportunity.
Yeah.
I am also coming back. I'm making a connection here. And
Okay.
I think this is like a generational switch that I need to flick on.
Yes. Yes.
And it's not because I don't know how a phone works. It's not because I'm not tech savvy. It's because I think a lot of my time on stage has been trying to figure shit out.
Mm.
And I
fair.
think for
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
of queer comedians, the stage has been that place where it is a safe, as well, not it's not a safe space, but it is a space for you to figure your shit out.
Yeah.
And now it's the exact opposite, right? You don't have to figure your shit out. It's not a therapeutic process to be on stage or to be on social media. And that for me is maybe flipping it around and going, okay, I don't have to figure it out. All I have to do is just entertain people.
Create, entertain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is a
Honestly.
totally different way of approaching work.
Yeah. And I think what will happen too is that in that process, you probably will figure yourself out too. Does that make sense? If we put our head before us,
right?
It's like the horse before the cart. Like some of the times we're too in our head.
Right.
And we don't think that, like, just as my favorite singer, Anna from Frozen says, let it go.
Let it go.
Just let it go.
Yeah, this is why I'm out here. I'm out here like letting things go.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Let it
Yeah.
go. Digest like a compost bucket. I got a compost now.
Yes.
I'm learning so much from that.
Compost is so
That's
important.
awesome.
Come on.
It's so important, but like,
Ecologically speaking,
yeah,
you
but
know, you're
also
a freaking
emotionally.
you're an ex-farmer. Come on.
I know, but
Get back to
I
your roots. Come on.
I know. And I'm somebody who like treated memories like it was a gallery, right? Like I had sort of a scrapbook of memories that I was just constantly
Yeah.
keeping, right? And
Yeah.
so much
Yeah.
time like spending doing archival work trying to preserve those memories and
Mm.
detailing them. That's why I have like two memoirs at 40.
Yeah.
And now I don't remember much since I started composting because I started understanding that you're supposed to let memories break down. You're
Yeah.
supposed to let things break down, not let them go, but like break them
Mhm.
down and start building and start planting with
Yeah.
that soil.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's sort of why I've been focusing on digestion. Like,
Well, the important thing to you understand too, Shawn, is everything
Yeah.
you're doing
yeah,
is correct.
Steps. Yeah.
yeah,
It's all right. It's right
It's
for you,
yeah. Oh,
right?
can you just call me every week?
I would. Give me your number.
Don't put it out there, Shawn. Don't put it out there.
Yeah,
No,
he doesn't
I'm
know
just joking.
he doesn't know I'm a stalker. Oh,
Oh yeah,
She's
I
our
know.
serial stalker.
I welcome that. I welcome that attention. Yeah.
Aw, Laura's
that's
awesome.
funny.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah, I mean, it's funny that you should say all that about social media, Shawn, because like you may not remember, but I found your book at the library, and then I
Mhm.
stalked you on Twitter.
Yeah.
But you don't
Yeah.
remember. I mean, come
Oh,
on.
I
I'm
do.
just
I do. I do.
one of those fans.
Oh, yeah.
Forgettable.
But I
Forgettable.
also, I also had to revamp my social media because I did go through a large grieving process, and a lot of
Mhm.
that was done expressed through social media, and I eventually just had to let seal that account and start fresh.
You
Yeah.
rebranded.
I rebranded. I did a
Yeah.
full
Again, perfect.
perfect. Oh,
Little Laura, perfect. You're so cute, Laura.
Well, all your photos, like that recent photo shoot, unbelievable.
Oh
Right?
yeah, you're hot. You're
Shout
hot,
out.
Ginger. Dude, come on. Yeah, beautiful.
What's great is meeting all of these incredible artists out west. And that just felt good. It felt nice to be working with somebody new and creating these new relationships. And it was a great conversation, and we did it over 2 days. And I mean, there's this one photo where I look like Cindy Crawford, like I've got that thing going on, and I was like,
Yeah,
this is
yeah.
amazing. How, like,
Amazing.
yeah, smizing,
Yeah.
through these hooded
Mhm.
things I call eyes, but
Stop. Stop.
but yeah, it feels good to be where I am now, and it feels good to have like a fully regulated nervous system, and
Aw.
to be in a place where I do wake up in the middle of the night going, oh my god, with having done a full set in front of an audience again.
Oh, that's
And so
awesome.
that's where I'm at, is you know coming from a place where I couldn't be in front of one person.
Mhm. Mhm.
Doug Morency at Second City used to say that I could fall asleep on the stage and just be happy with people watching, and I thought
Mm.
that was a compliment. It wasn't.
Oh, nice.
Right? I thought it was a compliment until like somebody I was dating took a photo of me while sleeping, and it was just Pompeii, right? Like it was just
Oh,
it was
no.
just
Mm.
no, I should not be sleeping in front of an audience.
Stop. Yeah.
But you know I was always really too comfortable being on stage, and then a whole bunch of catastrophes happened, one right
Yeah.
after another,
Mhm.
and suddenly I was not able to go on stage.
Wow.
The last time I was on stage was like maybe 4 years ago, right before the pandemic, and I had to have like an emergency backup, Ativan in my pocket just in case.
Wow.
And so it was the first time I didn't have like uh that shield of like nothing is I could feel everything. I could feel the audience, and it was completely overwhelming.
Mhm.
So I had to rebuild my nervous system to the point
Mhm.
where I can make eye contact, I can be out there, and I can be present on stage. And it was 4 years and a lot of cycling to do that.
Wow.
But now it's time.
And
That's
tell me,
awesome.
just you mentioned the cycling, so
Yeah.
just tell us a little bit about that
Uh,
process.
that process. Okay. So I was fighting off post-traumatic stress disorder. So it hadn't become disordered. So it was just sort of adjustment issues, but adjustment issues are very um it's a wild process of like not knowing where your body is in time and space.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so I just started doing heavy reading. So I had to learn about you know, proprioception. I think that's how you say it. Interoception, like how you experience the world on the outside from the outside in, and then like vestibular function, like swing sets. So you would see me outside, like swinging on a swing set in the park in Toronto, and then it became I lost the ability to drive, and so I had to build that back up. So I
Wow.
had to um, get on a bike, and I found a bike, and then I started cycling, and then it was through the pandemic I found the one bike that was available in Toronto, and then I
Oh my
started
God.
cycling to Hamilton, and then
Yeah.
from Oakville to Hamilton, and then to
What?
Falls and back. And that's how I started doing these long haul cycles to build up
Wow.
not only my stamina, but my
Yep.
body moving through space. So my
Yeah.
body traveling uh, at a fast motion. Like I would be on planes a lot. I can now be on a plane because I take this form of dance where it's all about like slapping your body and like,
Oh, is
you
it
know,
Capabario or something? Is it that
it's
way?
Gaga. So
Oh,
it,
okay.
Gaga.
which is
Interesting.
a beautiful sort of healing process of the body. And yoga, and I hated yoga, and now I love it. But all of this, finding to retrain my body so that
Mhm.
I was no longer slipping in time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Uh, an incredible journey. Uh,
It's amazing.
I It was very solitary, and I'm so thankful that there were those 2 years in Toronto where we weren't allowed to see anybody, and I gave
Mhm.
so much slow time. And I wrote a book, and then I started cycling, and then when everything started coming back up, I had to come out here because cycling is safer.
Oh yeah, Toronto's a zoo.
Yeah,
Anybody that rides a bike in Toronto has to have like weight issues. There's no
yeah,
way. There's no
yeah.
way.
And so I can cycle 48 kilometers in dedicated lanes.
Oh,
I rode
amazing.
from Vancouver to Souk, which is out on the Pacific Rim, and back, and didn't hit a road once.
Wow.
Wow.
So that
That's
was
incredible.
Nice.
so
Yeah.
that's that part of training,
Yeah.
and just getting my body back has been uh one hell of a journey, and
Yeah.
not necessarily a funny one, but definitely
No. Aw.
uh you know, but what are you going to do? Life hands you a
Yeah.
shit sandwich, and you just kind of go, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Quite
No,
so. Quite
it's
so.
yeah,
very true. Like trauma is so shitty. It
yeah,
really is. Like, and we don't realize, and you explained it perfectly, that like it really disassociates us from our bodies some of the times.
yeah,
And like we store trauma in our bodies.
yeah.
And it can take a long time to like release that trauma. And cycling is amazing for
Yeah.
doing that. I read an article a long time ago about teens and depression and trauma,
Mhm.
and they joined running clubs
Right.
and they've seen like huge improvement in them in a short period of time running. So your
Yeah.
body needs those releases, and that's awesome. And I'm sure you're going to be
Mhm.
cycling a lot once you start getting full time back into doing the stand up. Because let me tell you, I would need a bike on the stage, like
Yeah,
to
yeah. Maybe I
you
should get like a
Peloton.
maybe my first show should be a show about those spin classes, and just be a spin
Yeah.
instructor and do the entire thing.
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
That's
Maybe I should
funny.
do a stand-up set in a spin club.
Oh, for sure.
Why
For
not?
sure.
Why
They
not?
got to watch something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and when I bomb,
That's
I'll just put
great.
on a song, and we can just like
That's right. They won't
Yeah.
know. They won't
They won't
know.
know. They
No,
won't
you're
know.
not gonna bomb, whatever.
No. Oh, you know what?
No.
Bombing is important.
Mhm.
Bombing is so important. I had another I've had 12 agents, and one of my 12 agents.
Stop it. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. Is it? I don't know. I think there came a point where I started recycling back to the agents that I let go. 'Cause, hey, remember a couple years ago we used to work together? Yeah. Who said, one day you're gonna have to bomb, and I was like, ah.
Yeah.
And then I remember the show that I bombed, and then I bombed the first time that I did it, Edinburgh, and it was
Oh,
such an important process. My worst show in Edinburgh the first year, May Martin had given me a Red Bull
love
right
me. Yeah.
before a show. She's like, "You look a little tired," and I was like, "I'm fine." I'm fine." They and so I had this Red Bull, and then I went out on stage, and I just started sweating
Oh
and
yeah.
sweating and
I'm
sweating.
like, she sabotaged you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
did. They
yeah.
they definitely did. No,
Sorry,
no, they
did.
did not.
They
They
did.
but it was so funny. I had 3 people in the audience, and I did a full hour show in 25 minutes, and then I spent 7 hours vomiting after.
Oh
It was
no.
the
Oh
because
no.
in Edinburgh they have this thing called the plague that happens. They call it the plague every year, where the performers get sick at a certain thing, and it just wipes out
Oh.
the entire festival. And so I got it, and it was fueled by a Red Bull given to me by May Martin, and I was so violently ill in front of an audience. It was beautiful,
Oh
beautiful.
my
It took
word.
me years to shake that. Years to shake that. It was wonderful. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Hey,
Wow.
you didn't do it in Canada, so it doesn't count.
I did have a show that bombed. I did have a show that I had one
Oh
show. This
Yeah,
is
but it didn't
so
involve Red Bull or barf,
no,
right?
this is actually a worse one. Okay,
Oh,
I had one show that I had rented out buddies for 2 weeks, and then I had one show that it was a Thursday night, and for some reason Thursday nights are tricky in Toronto. I don't know why, but they are. And I could not sell a single ticket. So I just put a message out to like all the charities, all the queer charities, saying like, hey, free tickets for anybody. Well, I guess a hospice has showed up in the at the theater, and I had maybe 25 people, and I was like, this is just so brutal. But then the air conditioning went on max. So it was suddenly a freezer, and I had 20 people from a hospice in a refrigerator, and everybody was like this. And it was the worst show I've ever had. And there was a critic in the audience that night,
Oh,
and it was so bad they did not write about it.
oh, thank
It
goodness.
was so bad. But then the next night, amazing. It was fantastic.
Ah,
But like it's little things like something like an air conditioner and a
mhm.
night that you can't sell that will always come into play. And you just kind of go, this is the training. This is the
Yeah.
training. It can't get worse than this. And then it does get worse at another time.
And then it does get worse.
Yeah.
I
And
love
then
your
you
attitude, Shawn.
learn
Like that's
not
a
to
real
pay
winner
for a house with
attitude.
a hospice, right? Like you're like, this is not my audience. This is
That's great.
oh my God, it had to
youthful
happen.
mistakes at 27 that I will never make
Oh,
again. But
oh,
yeah,
how to go back? No,
yeah,
no,
yeah,
no.
yeah, yeah.
So you're working on your a new show I
I'm
saw
working.
on your website.
Yeah, that is right now it's called Amaro because that's
Yeah.
about digestion, and it's the exact opposite of the word bitter. It means bitter, but it's just more sweet and medicinal.
Oh,
And that is so what I know about this show so far is that it's about stopping telling your coming out stories.
yes.
And that is what it is. So I'm starting by telling the first joke I ever told, which is one of the dirtiest jokes I've ever heard. And then I extrapolate on that. And then I sit with the question of like, what if we were only meant to tell one joke for the rest of our lives?
Oh, that's a great question.
Yeah.
Nice premise too.
So
Yeah.
I've stopped telling my coming out story after one plane ride to Toronto, where I just sat down, and then I'm always stuck in these conversation traps. Thankfully, it was with this wonderful person
Yeah.
who just asked me, so what was it like to come out? And I was like, oh, but then we had a beautiful conversation about it. And that's the last person I'll ever tell.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Because
great.
so yeah, so that it sounds a little heady, but it's also quite raunchy, which I think is great, because why not start by telling an absolutely raunchy joke?
Amen.
That, and then I'm working on a TV series with somebody who found my book, the first book in Indigo, and then called me while I was hiking and said, "Hey, what are you doing right now?" And I said, "I'm hiking." And then he said, "Well, write us a TV show." So I've been working with them, which is great.
Mm.
That's amazing.
And then yeah, so it's all things are going well. Things are going well.
That's
Sounds like
fabulous.
it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
Wow.
nice. It's nice to be in this place now. It's taken me
I
a lot.
guess.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
one
a
hell of a
long,
journey.
yeah, I was gonna say it's been a long one and hard, but
Yeah.
you had to do it that way, like I said before. And so if you were to give some advice, say to someone who wants to start a career in comedy, what would you say now that you're, a little more seasoned?
Oh, go for it.
Good answer.
Right?
Very
Like
good.
who am I to sit there and I've stopped giving advice to people. Right? Like, I just say, go for it. Do you want to do it? How can I help you? Right?
Oh,
You know,
that's very nice. We've had very mixed answers from
really?
our guests on the show. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
it's nice to see someone that's like, just do it, go
Just
for
do
it.
it.
What you got
Yeah,
to
you'll
I
lose?
mean,
have to
that's what I
listen
have
to
to tell
hear them.
myself in the mirror all the day, every day. Just go for
Right.
it.
Absolutely.
Do it.
Because you
You
never
know?
know until you try.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there is this now correct me on or challenge me on this, is I think that a lot of expression has been confined, and I feel like we were trained to uh to have very short forms of expression. Like grief is just like a post on Facebook
Mm,
now. Uh, Twitter, it was 40 characters. And then, before that it was Facebook, Shawn is this, like that sort of way of expressing ourselves. I think
Mm-hmm.
people are
Mm-hmm.
reacting against that, like
mhm.
feeling like they want um to speak in a public way that is broader, more genuine,
Yeah.
and with a bit more risk.
Mhm.
And I think that impulse should be honored. I think
Yes.
people
We need
should
more
lean
people.
into it.
Yep. We have a mutual friend, Laura and I, who um, tragically lost his wife a couple of years ago, and
Mhm.
he regularly posts on Facebook
Yeah.
about his grief journey.
Yeah.
And it's like, it has opened my eyes so much to widowhood and losing a loved one that, like, I grew up, my mother's Italian, my father was
Yeah.
French. Yes, very loving, very caring, very funny, but very much like your family. Oh,
Yeah.
it's a trauma.
Yeah.
Don't cry, don't cry. And
Right.
it's like, it's so cool to, like, not cool in a, like, oh, I'm so happy you went through it, but like cool in a, wow, I never would have known. And like he'll write about people being like, okay, it's been 2 years, like, move on, dude. And he's like, I
I love that.
thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah. No advice. I'm posting because I just want it out there. I don't want
Yeah.
any advice. I don't want any other things. And I'm like, it's really fascinating to see that. And I think more people need to share stuff like that, because our generation, again, you fall down, you hurt yourself,
Yeah.
get up, stop crying. Why are you crying? You shouldn't be still crying, or, like, what do you mean suppressed emotions? I don't suffer from
Mm.
that at all.
At all.
Not.
It is, I would say that grief has taught me so much about not only how I form my relationships and my attachments. Of course, that's going to I've done the work so that I enter a relationship a little bit more resourced. But it's also taught me a lot about people. I didn't just lose partners. I lost mentors. I lost friends. I lost family members. And they're still living. They're still out there walking around. But
Hmm.
it has taught me to know the difference between audience and community. It's taught me how to let people go, not only when, even especially if they're living, that it's okay to say goodbye to friends who can't hold your pain, and it's also okay to not let them back in when they think the smoke is clear.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's been tough to reconcile that, but it's, that's what therapy's for, and that's what, what this is about. Under that journey to understand what the difference between audience and community is what's able to make me go back in front of an audience now.
That's awesome.
Yay.
Right. That I
Absolutely.
belong in a community where I don't have to be on, where I don't have to perform, where my value isn't my ability to just make people laugh, but it's also to make people think, make people cry, also let people hold space for them. I have this beautiful, rich community around me. And before I didn't have that.
Yeah.
I just had audience, right? And so my value was only based on whether the next house was full, whether that last show was good, whether this, train yourself to be on at all points. And so I can now flip.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Well, we're excited to see you. So you need to make a trip back to the Big Smoke.
I will.
And let us know in advance. And Laura and I definitely try to support everybody whenever they come to the city.
That's amazing.
We'd love to see you perform. Laura's loving your book.
Oh,
I have to say I haven't gotten it yet, but it is on my list. And
awesome.
I'm very excited to read both of them.
I just will say this, Shawn, what an incredible writer you are.
Oh.
Like, the words are just, it's like, I don't know, like a symphony for me, just beautiful. Beautiful.
Oh my
I mean,
gosh.
I enjoyed the first book. Like, it made me laugh and cry and everything else.
Yeah.
It was fantastic, and I loved the stories. And of course, I have thousands of questions for you about that.
Yeah.
But and I read that like several years ago.
Yeah.
But the current one, I'm in. Like, I haven't finished, but I'm like, oh my God, this is, because I think it's helping me a little bit. It's
oh my
helping
God,
me
what
a
a
little bit.
gift. Thank you for
Yeah.
saying that.
I'll tell you why later, but
Okay.
yeah.
It's
so mention the title so that everybody, we
the-
will have it in our show notes as well. But
the first book is called A Brief History of Oversharing. It's sort of a lighthearted retelling of coming out stories. I wanted to include a mango recipe in it for mango salsa, but they wouldn't let me.
nice.
But anyways, that's a little, they wouldn't let, they just thought it just wasn't on brand. Anyways, it's a really great mango salsa recipe. I can give it to
You
anybody.
can send me that.
I will.
Send it to us. We'll put it in the show notes.
Oh yeah, we'll put it in the show notes for sure.
The second one is called The Light Stream Beneath It, and it's my journey through complex bereavement and the loss of Matthew and of David, and who were two incredible men in my life, and the back-to-back deaths, and how that just really did a number. I had to write myself. It's an elegy. It's a ballad. Some bookstore owners have said it's too heavy to put on my shelves, and I've said you should get stronger shelves.
Stronger shelves. Yeah. Oh, good for you.
So but it's a beautiful, one of the gifts of that book is that it reaches the people that it needs to reach. And the first book reaches a lot of people, and the second one is just, I wrote this for somebody who's going through this, or needs to understand, or needs a roadmap out of grief.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of it. I look at that and go, wow, okay, I made something.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. I'm excited to read it.
Oh.
And on that note, my friend, we have
Yeah.
to go. We could probably talk to you for hours.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But
Definitely.
definitely. But thank you so much for your time. You
Oh,
are
thank
just a
you.
little ray of sunshine in all this rain. So
Oh, well, and thank you for letting me like
thank you.
ramble and like thanks for the therapy
Awesome.
session.
Great. Laura will send you her bill later.
Please do. Please do.
One
Amazing.
mango salsa.
Well,
Yeah,
yeah, I will
yeah,
send you in return for the free therapy session. I will. Oh,
That's
Thanks,
great.
Shawn.
Thank
Thank
you,
awesome.
you.
Shawn.
Take care.